reveals the shock challenges facing the British royal family. There are feuds on both sides of the Atlantic, and it really does start to feel like things have collapsed somewhat.
I don't really see a solution to this problem in the near future. I don't see any real attempt on the part of the royal.
You are so right, Dan, in saying that this is a problem that should have been handled years and years ago. It should have been dealt with years and years ago. They should have figured out either how to manage it, how to mitigate it, and these sorts of things. But it was one of those sort of holdovers from the reign of Queen Elizabeth that I think they weren't trying to deal with. They were kind of trying to leave it in the periphery, hoping it would go away. And I think this is a profound lesson for the royal family to learn, is that sometimes things don't go away.
A leaked internal risk matrix just dropped a bombshell. If criminal convictions and parliamentary oversight both land at the same time, royal approval ratings could nosedive by 7 full points in under a year. The palace went into full panic mode, trying to contain the leak, but the document had already gone worldwide. Later that same day, Princess Anne stepped into the Royal Marsden Hospital. When reporters pushed her on the cyber scandal, she kept it short and sharp. The crown will stand. That single line took over every headline instantly. The financial damage became impossible to hide. By end of trading, Marrow and Time Limited suspended its shares after a jaw-dropping 79% collapse. Analysts called it straight. The brand is effectively dead in the water. Inside Buckingham Palace, preparations for the next move had already begun. Quietly, quickly, and without warning. Behind the scenes, senior auditor Graham Wicks finalized a sweeping 5-year review of royal consultancy payments. The spreadsheet flagged 32 suspicious transactions totaling £1.41 million, file name House Clean Master at XL's X. That audit got locked into the palace archive at 6:59 on April 2nd. Then investigators delivered their final Operation Glade case file straight to the Crown Prosecution Service. One police source summed it up in just 3 words. Bundle delivered, airtight. 2 clocks are now ticking loud. April 3rd, possible criminal charges. April 29th, the parliamentary vote on royal financial oversight. One could trigger indictments, the other could permanently change how royal money gets watched. And the crown sits directly in the crossfire between them. When Princess Lilibet Diana was baptized, critics fired a pointed question straight at Harry and Meghan. Why use royal titles for the children after publicly tearing down the very institution those titles represent? The couple never publicly addressed it. The online debate exploded and never cooled down. A sealed memorandum from the Privy Purse Office, signed by King Charles III and the Lord Chamberlain, reportedly triggered Section 3 of the 1917 title's deprivation framework.
Not that interested in history. And in some ways, it doesn't seem like he's that interested in tradition, because history and tradition often sort of go hand in hand. And I think there's definitely a way to modernize things while utilizing sort of the old, let's say, kind of framework that they used to have. But
the styles Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet were temporarily frozen from public use. The brief explanation cited unresolved irregularities in statutory and ecclesiastical records. And that phrase sent shockwaves everywhere. Attention locked onto several key documents. Either Archie's amended Portland Hospital certificate, Lilibet's Santa Barbara County record, and the total absence of confirmed Church of England baptism documentation for both children. Prince William then authorized an internal verification review. A 6-member panel of privy councillors and constitutional lawyers assembled fast. That committee fired off a 64-point request to the Sussex legal team demanding supporting documentation, medical records, physician credentials, financial statements, and communications covering the children's official records between 2018 and 2021. Deadlines were set hard: March 16th for medical documentation, March 18th for ecclesiastical records. Meanwhile, officials quietly prepared contingency plans in case questions remained unresolved by April 30th. The Cabinet Office is reportedly preparing legislation known as the Succession Integrity Bill, expected to land before the Whitsun recess. The proposal would formalize restrictions on the commercial use of royal titles and reinforce provisions under the 1917 titles deprivation framework. At the same time, the controversy started hitting the Sussex brand where it hurts most: the money. Internal entertainment industry reports suggest that a significant portion of streaming interest in the couple's projects was driven purely by public curiosity about their family story.
This week on social media, Meghan Markle boasted about her busy working life to the soundtrack of Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. Seriously, the most work she probably has to do each day is decide what designer gear to wear. She can have round-the-clock help if she wants it, which she may well have. Nothing like the real hard-working 9 to 5ers. The Americans aren't buying any of this.
American Riviera Orchard, Meghan's lifestyle venture launched earlier this year, had already printed thousands of product labels referencing Princess Lilibet of Sussex. Key legal advisors reportedly warned that continuing sales could raise serious consumer misrepresentation issues. The legal situation intensified after Meghan filed a serious harm notice in response to public allegations made by royal commentator Lady Colin Campbell. Under civil disclosure rules, such a claim requires the release of any documents that may support or challenge the allegation. A court schedule reportedly set tight deadlines: March 16th for medical and hospital documentation, March 18th for baptism or church confirmation records, March 24th for related correspondence, invoices, or agreements linked to the timeline. Miss those deadlines and a judge could draw adverse inferences, a legal assumption that withheld evidence weakens the claimant's case. In the United States, separate legal motions sought additional records from organizations connected to medical or administrative documentation from that same period. At the constitutional level, the mechanism stayed procedural. If questions persist, the Privy Council could prepare a full report for the monarch outlining their concerns. The king could then issue an order in council, presented to Parliament. And unless either house formally objects within the statutory period, that order takes effect without a direct vote. Official heraldic authorities would update the royal registers accordingly. Archie and Lilibet are children, but historical precedent shows the crown can alter or remove a title held by a child without appointing a guardian. The action is framed as protecting the succession framework, not targeting the child. At the same time, Prince William is reportedly pushing a broader legislative safeguard forward.
It's a petulant, spoiled behavior. It's an extravagance that could have been reinvested into a charity or something beneficial or something to rebuild his faith or trust with the United Kingdom and the general population here. But it was money spent on a hiding to nothing. And that would appear to me to be driven by ego.
A draft succession integrity bill circulated on March 14th outlines several major proposed changes. The bill would state that only descendants born naturally and baptized within the Church of England or a recognized communion remain eligible in the line of succession. It would also limit the HRH style to the monarch, the monarch's children, and the heir's children, and only while performing official duties. Another clause would block anyone who later loses a royal title from commercially selling that title, with civil penalties reaching £2 million per violation, hitting both the individual and any retailers using it in marketing. Finally, it would allow the Crown Office to privately request supporting documentation, medical, sacramental, or other official evidence, whenever succession questions arise. Early signals suggest strong parliamentary support. More than 70 Conservative MPs have indicated backing, while Labour officials describe the bill as routine modernization of constitutional rules. A first reading is tentatively scheduled for May 8th. Though it could be moved forward fast if the situation escalates, commercial repercussions are already hitting hard. A leaked streaming contract reportedly defines a material reputational event as the suspension or loss of royal status. Following recent legal developments, major payments connected to upcoming projects have been temporarily paused pending clarity. Several brands have quietly adjusted marketing materials that referenced royal titles, while a trademark filing using Princess Lilibet of Sussex has reportedly faced additional scrutiny from U.S. patent officials reviewing the title component. An internal risk analysis described 3 possible outcomes: full compliance, supporting documents appear, titles remain, and business agreements continue. Partial compliance. Incomplete records freeze title use for several years, damaging existing deals. Non-compliance. Full deprivation triggers widespread contract renegotiations and potential clawbacks.
Let's talk about the court case. So the court case doesn't actually enforce RAVEC to reverse their decision unless they did something unlawful in terms of how they put that risk assessment together. So the court case was really about the process of what RAVEC did to come to their decision.
Political leaders would prefer this resolved quietly because public debate risks becoming highly polarizing fast. Activist groups and commentators have already started organizing campaigns and polls about royal titles and succession rules, showing just how quickly this issue entered the public conversation. Inside Montecito, financial pressure has reportedly grown as certain revenue streams paused. Advisors warned that prolonged uncertainty could damage future projects badly. Online speculation also exploded, with social media users dissecting old footage and flight records, though many of those claims remain completely unverified. The next critical date is March 24th, when several U.S. subpoenas are scheduled to take effect. The following major deadline lands on April 30th, when Prince William is expected to close the internal verification review. If certified, unredacted documentation is not delivered by May 1st, officials could move forward with a succession integrity bill in Parliament, while the Privy Council considers formal action under existing constitutional procedures. At the center of this debate sits a detail going back nearly 7 years. Buckingham Palace communique announcing Archie's birth used the phrase, "born for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex." Where traditionally royal announcements had long used the wording "born to," the phrasing prompted quiet questions among editors and commentators at the time. Palace officials described it as modernized language, but that explanation did not fully satisfy everyone. Other details surrounding the announcement later attracted serious public attention. Routine administrative records, hospital access logs, and Prince Harry's early media interview discussing the birth. During that interview, Harry briefly said, "The baby had changed so much in the last 2 weeks," before quickly correcting himself to 2 days. That clip spread across social media like wildfire, and speculation never stopped. Later, a request was filed to amend Archie's birth certificate so that Meghan's name appeared as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex.
Only got where she was because she slept with the spare and got knocked up. Let's be honest about it. I mean, that's, I guess that's one way to do it, but, don't sit here and call yourself a female founder when you married the money.
Government officials noted that such post-registration formatting changes were unusual, but not unprecedented. About 10 days later, officials from Sussex House reportedly asked whether the phrase "born for" could be corrected retroactively, and were informed that official registers generally cannot be amended twice. Another detail surfaced months later on November 12, 2019. An archivist at Lambeth Palace reportedly noted that the baptism register entry for July 6th contained no physical signatures. The certificate later provided to media outlets appeared as a stamped copy rather than the traditional signed entry typically required under Church of England guidance. The matter received little attention at the time, overshadowed by other major royal news. Meanwhile, the Sussexes entered a major development deal with Netflix. Early pitch materials reportedly referenced the family story as a central part of the project's appeal. A company executive later indicated that public perception of the family's royal status directly contributed to the value of the agreement. Separate reports from April of 2021 mention a medical transport order involving specialized equipment moved from Los Angeles to Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, with the client name redacted and billing routed through a Delaware-based company. Around the same period, a private flight traveled from Van Nuys to Santa Barbara carrying medical personnel, including neonatal specialists and an obstetrician later identified in press coverage. And 12 days later, on June 4, 2021, the birth of Lilibet Diana was publicly announced. And shortly afterward, the physician named in earlier reports closed her practice and declined all interviews. A later statement from the Sussexes said Lilibet had been baptized in a private ceremony officiated by the Archbishop of Canterbury.
And you need to figure out how to address it rather than sort of having an ostrich head in the sand mentality here.
Church officials later clarified that any such ceremony conducted outside the UK would normally require special authorization. The issue gained renewed attention when the Harry and Meghan documentary series used the titles Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet throughout its closing credits. Streaming executives reportedly noted they relied on titles already used in media coverage. But as questions circulated publicly, the palace issued a carefully worded directive freezing the use of certain titles pending verification of official records. Historians pointed out that formal questions about birth documentation within the line of succession are extremely rare in modern times. Online commentators and analysts have since debated various theories, but medical experts emphasize that only official documentation, not internet speculation, can ultimately clarify the record. No verified entry matching June 4th, 2021 has appeared in certain public records examined by commentators, and that absence has kept the debate burning. In constitutional terms, succession rules place heavy emphasis on clear, auditable records. When questions arise, the Crown must ensure the line of inheritance is fully documented and legally secure. Attention has focused on gaps such as missing signatures and incomplete public entries. And in matters involving the line of succession, even small irregularities attract serious scrutiny because every stage must be formally recorded. Officials reviewing the issue reportedly prepared briefing notes explaining that if primary evidence cannot be confirmed, constitutional authorities may be required to act in order to preserve the integrity of the succession. Such action would follow established legal procedures involving the Privy Council and Parliament.
Here in the United Kingdom, if you are a former Prime Minister, or if you are a former royal, or you step down like Harry did from royal duties, then ultimately you are not entitled to that security. The security is designated as someone who is currently in the royal family carrying out royal functions and duties.
For the Sussexes, the timeline is tight. Several weeks remain before the next scheduled council review, leaving a narrow window to supply supporting records that resolve outstanding questions. Public opinion shifted quickly. Early polling suggested many Britons were largely indifferent to the dispute. But after widespread media coverage, including television segments comparing traditional royal birth notices with more recent announcements, online discussions surged within days. Social media clips analyzing the issue gathered tens of millions of views, transforming a niche constitutional question into a full-blown global debate. Behind the scenes, palace officials adopted a careful communication strategy. Focus on legal language, not personal criticism. Keep King Charles publicly neutral while other senior royals handle political pressure. Advance verification quietly while allowing public discussion to evolve before Parliament addresses the matter. The aim is to present any eventual decision as procedural and constitutional, not personal or punitive. Sure, palace officials appear determined to keep the process moving fast. Each missed deadline triggers another procedural step. Subpoenas issued, draft legislation circulated, government briefings prepared. The effect creates a steady sense of momentum that no amount of public relations can slow down. Inside the Sussex household, the focus reportedly shifted from messaging to financial planning. Major media contracts were expected to provide long-term stability. But when payments tied to future streaming projects paused in mid-March, the situation reportedly tightened fast. Earlier podcast deals had already ended, and publishing advances are often structured through escrow arrangements that release funds only under specific conditions. Advisors explored the possibility of raising short-term funding backed by future speaking engagements, but potential partners reportedly wanted assurances that the couple's branding, including royal titles, would remain stable before committing. Commercial ripple effects are visible everywhere. Some retailers have temporarily removed products using royal titles until the legal situation becomes clearer.
And you married the prestige. You didn't build anything for yourself. You committed the greatest sin in your glorious Steinem feminism rulebook.
A lifestyle brand linked to the couple has faced delays because distributors want legal confirmation before shipping items referencing disputed titles. Certain food products prepared for launch have limited shelf lives, meaning delays could lead to wasted inventory if distribution stalls. The Sussex legal team may try several strategies: delaying disclosure through privacy arguments, reframing the issue publicly, or pursuing defamation claims. But experts note that privacy laws typically do not prevent individuals from releasing their own records, and discovery orders already issued in different jurisdictions limit how long documents can remain undisclosed. Two upcoming dates now dominate the entire timeline: March 24th for U.S. subpoena compliance and April 30th as the closing date for the internal verification review. Sources close to the review say officials want the matter resolved before the summer ceremonial calendar begins, ensuring upcoming royal events proceed without ongoing controversy. Members of Parliament are watching public opinion closely. Internal reports suggest constituency mail is running heavily in favor of suspending disputed titles until documentation questions are fully resolved. Political analysts say that across all parties, the simplest solution appears to be procedural: resolve the records and move forward. Commentators have noted an unusual symmetry in this entire situation. When Harry and Meghan began publicly telling their stories several years ago, they framed it as revealing their truth. Now the palace is responding in its own way, through legal statutes, official records, and constitutional procedures. Each new document or filing adds another layer to the narrative. The phrase "born of the body" now trends regularly on social media, with short explainer videos attempting to summarize centuries of succession law in under a minute. And some of those videos have reached millions of views, typically ending with one simple demand: show the documents. More extreme theories have appeared in fringe online spaces. And while mainstream media largely ignores those claims, palace advisors worry about the vacuum that speculation creates when official information stays incomplete. Privately, some royal aides have hinted that a quiet resolution remains possible. If certified medical records and official church documentation were delivered before mid-April, the review process could potentially close without further action. But sources close to the situation suggest advisors are uncertain whether such documentation exists in the exact form required. Without it, constitutional procedures move forward, leaving the final decision resting with the monarch and Parliament. Less than 2 years ago, analysts estimated the value of the Sussex media ecosystem at around £150 million. That valuation rested on 3 pillars: the prestige of royal status, major media partnerships, and public goodwill built through earlier interviews and documentaries. Today, every single one of those pillars is under serious pressure. The first is title risk. Financial analysts warn that if royal styling changes, the narrative appeal tied to royal access disappears with it. Some streaming executives have already started discussing contingency plans to reposition the couple as celebrity figures rather than royal insiders. If that shift happens, certain back-end payments tied to original project assumptions could vanish entirely. The second issue is legal exposure. Publishing contracts often include clauses addressing reputational changes. Archie and lawyers reviewing upcoming projects have warned that future memoirs or media ventures referencing royal titles could face new restrictions depending on how the proposed legislation lands. The third is public sentiment. Recent polling suggests favorability toward the couple in the United States has dropped significantly since these legal questions emerged. Television producers who previously welcomed Sussex interviews are now reportedly waiting for clarity before scheduling new appearances. The financial reality in California is increasingly tight. Security costs for high-profile families can exceed 6 figures annually, while property and operational expenses add further pressure. Charitable commitments highlighted in public announcements also require significant funding to maintain. Several earlier revenue streams, or backstory, including podcasting and certain publishing advances, have slowed or paused entirely. American Riviera Orchard was expected to open major new commercial opportunities, but endorsement deals typically require stable branding, and potential partners appear cautious until the title situation is resolved. The palace appears to be playing a quiet but calculated strategic game. Each commercial setback increases pressure on the Sussexes to produce documentation that resolves the issue. For the monarchy, the calculation is simple. The line of succession must remain beyond doubt. There's no middle ground that leaves lingering questions in the historical record. In the end, the equation comes down to one condition: documentation restores stability, and silence deepens the crisis.